The battle of two heavyweights in the West, LAFC hosting Seattle. Both teams off to historic starts this season. So this was a matchup that we were all kind of waiting for. But LAFC, man, they made a statement against DC. They go out, they make a huge statement once again against Seattle, a 4-1 win, 2 more goals for Carlos Vela. Marc-Anthony Kaye was absolutely immense in this one, 3 assists. They had that midweek loss to Vancouver, but it almost feels like a fluke at this point. Can this team be stopped?
They should have won that game. I'll sit here and tell you that until the cows come home. They should have won that game. They had the opportunities. Peter Lee Vassell just couldn't finish. Neither could Carlos Vela. They outshot Vancouver, whatever. That's midweek. Mm-hmm. They had that in the back of their mind. They come home, Seattle, the huge build-up to this Doyle, and then they just passed them off the field, basically. Yeah. The movement up front is what is so impressive to me. I love watching whoever's playing the 9. It doesn't really matter. In this case, Christian Ramirez kind of drift off. Carlos Vela can come in, walk into that 9 position. He can pull off the center backs as well. And when he does, all of a sudden you have Marc-Anthony Kaye and Edward Atuesta in behind delivering dimes. And Roman Torres, you can't do that because once they're up 2-0, then they just start playing around you and it gets a little ugly.
Yeah, I mean, this was... They, like you said, they just passed them off the field. And this was a nice little sequence here from the Sounders, and it felt like maybe they were going to come back in it. I thought the first 10 minutes of the second half, but no, it turned out to be all LAFC again. And it comes down, like, you're right, the movement on that front line with Ramirez drifting around.
Hey, watch this. Look at him.
It's excellent, but it's having having Kaye and Atuesta and Latif Blessing dominating central midfield every single week, no matter who they play against. Like you have to be all over them, and they make you commit to stopping them. And when that happens, you allow Vela and Rossi to go 1v1.
Okay, well, here's a look at the standings. And LAFC now sort of firmly cemented right there on top of the West. Seattle, as we mentioned before, no longer unbeaten. I mean, when you look at this, they're best team in the league.
That stands up, for sure. I'm going to drill down a little bit more, and I've been watching the chances created from open play stat all season long as LAFC grew and grew and grew. They're up by like 40. In chances created from open play, I know they've played 9 games. They have a little bit more opportunity than everybody else in the West, but what they're doing truly is historic. And I think back to Atlanta United and last year, and you saw their project kind of come to fruition. And they were able to build from scratch, invest heavily, wait over the course of a couple of years, let the pieces come together. Oh, by the way, have an incredible head coach in Tata in Atlanta and now Bob Bradley in LAFC. They knew what they wanted. They knew what they were building for. And they developed players. It's not just Carlos Vela. We know his quality. It's Marc-Anthony Kaye. It's going out and getting Edward Atuesta. It's being willing to go get Eddie Segura and say, you're the answer back there, even though we haven't found it before. They're just hitting all the right notes, and it's a joy to watch, to be honest with you.
Yeah, Carlos Vela, once again, 2 goals on the night. The guy is running away with the Golden Boot right now. Him and Diego Rossi up front. Is there a better 2 up front we're playing right now?
I mean, so far this year, it's them, and you saw it in the standings. They've scored 25 goals as a team this year. Their goal differential is plus 18. The eye test matches the box score, matches the underlying numbers. It is about those 2 guys, and we should all focus on those 2 guys because they've been excellent. I can't stress this enough. That midfield is awesome. Mm-hmm. That midfield is absolutely awesome. What they did today to the Sounders' first choice midfield, and I know Sounders fans are going to say, we didn't have Chad Marshall. Sure. We didn't have Raul Ruiz-Diaz. It wasn't our best 11, and hopefully next week we will get to see Seattle's best 11 against this team. That was your starting midfield out there. That was Christian Roldan and Gustav Svensson and Nico Ladero out there, and I did see Victor Rodriguez, and I did see your starting fullbacks, and LAFC cut them up.
Okay, so here's a question for you guys. Leading up to this game, we talked about these 2 being the best teams. We were so anxious to see this matchup. Who can compete toe-to-toe with LAFC right now? Is there another team that you're looking at that you think can give them some problems?
I mean, Seattle can do it.
Yeah.
I think they definitely can, and we'll see this next week when you go to Seattle and have the same matchup. I mean, it's both good and bad in some ways.
It's really hard to beat a good team twice in a row.
Yeah.
And I think Seattle's a really, really good team, and hopefully they will have Ruiz-Diaz, who I think was close to being healthy for this one. Hopefully they'll have him next week. Hopefully Chad Marshall is back, and we can see Seattle's best 11 versus LAFC's best 11. But guys, this was a statement. This wasn't... They didn't just fluke into a win. They didn't grind it out. They played Seattle off the field.
Yeah.
They played him off the field.
And oh, by the way, Seattle had midweek off. LAFC were in Toronto on turf playing with not all their starters, but a lot of those guys came off the bench. I mean, I go back to Kay and Atuesta, and we joke about Lionel Messi and what Bob Bradley said to Carlos Vela and how he's motivated him has just been incredible. 10 goals in 9 games? It's unbelievable. But what is he saying to Mark Anthony Kay, a guy who was playing at Louisville, just trying to break into Canada before this? I mean, he better be on the field with them. Watch those highlights again. How comfortable is he in tight spaces, under pressure, in and around the 18-yard box?
All right.
It's like he belongs there.